They had no idea what happened. They heard a sound though. That's what they told the investigators. Some described it as a clap. Others said it sounded like hail. And then there was the flickering. Some said they saw it in their windows. Others woke up to it. It was right before the plane disappeared from the sky, before it vanished without a trace, leaving behind only a cloud of unanswered questions. I remember that day well. March 8th, 2014. I was in the kitchen making breakfast when the news broke. A missing plane, they said. They didn't know why it disappeared. They didn't know where it went. All they knew was it had vanished. And since then, every time I hear a knock or a clap, I turn around to see, and if a plane flies overhead, I look up at its contrail wondering, what if? What if it was a mechanical failure that sent MH370 off course? What if there was someone at the controls? Someone who decided to make that turn into the darkness? Someone who turned off the lights and steered the plane away from the world? Someone who sat calmly in the cockpit and reached for the endless sky? But this is the truth, which was recently told by one of the crew survivors. We knew him. We flew with him many times. His name was Zahari. He was our captain. He was 53 years old. He lived in a small house in a quiet neighborhood. He liked to fish. He had a dog named Toby. He was friendly, reliable. Whenever I saw him outside the cockpit, he had a smile and a joke. I never saw him lose his temper. Not once. I never saw him scared or confused. He was steady, strong, sure of himself. I learned from him. I trusted him with my life. I never imagined that he would take that life away. This is how it went down. We left Kuala Lumpur at 12:41 a.m. Our destination was Beijing. Our flight number, MH370. On board were 227 passengers and 12 crew members. I was first officer. In the cockpit with me was Zahari and our second officer Farik. The initial climb out was normal. I did the takeoff briefing. I ran the after-takeoff checklist. I monitored the systems. I double-checked the navigation. I made sure everything was working. It was a routine flight to a routine destination. But as I worked, I could feel Farik's eyes on me. He was watching me. I could tell even without looking. And when I did look, I saw concern etched on his face. As we climbed through 35,000 feet, Farik called out, "Level achieved." He was smiling, but then his smile faded. He leaned closer. "Did you enable the auto throttle?" he whispered. "No," I said. I frowned. "Why? It's not part of the checklist." "It's fine," he said. "I just want to check." But as he reached for the control panel, I grabbed his arm. "Farik," I said, "let's focus on the checklist. Let's finish this climb and then we can start speculating." But he wouldn't listen. As I reached for the radio, he grabbed my shoulder and shook me. "You have to listen to me," he said. His eyes were wide. "Turn on the auto throttle." But before I could respond, the light above us flashed. I looked up. The chime echoed through the cockpit. "Attention pilots, fasten your seatbelts," it said. "Fasten your seatbelts." Farik slumped back in his chair. "Nothing," he said quietly. "It's probably a drill," I replied. But when the lights stayed on, I felt a chill crawl up my spine. When the fasten seatbelt light comes on, you don't ask questions. You don't argue. You obey. It's protocol. So I turned to Farik. "Get on the radio," I said. "Tell them we've got a problem here." He hesitated. "Maybe it's just a glitch," he said. But as I watched him scramble for the microphone, I knew there was more to the story. As he struggled to speak into the headset, I turned to the captain. "Zahari," I said, "what's happening?" He was staring straight ahead, eyes fixed on the runway below. "Nothing," he said softly. "Just a little turbulence. You need to concentrate." And as he reached for the yoke, I felt the plane shudder beneath me. "Fasten your seatbelts," the voice repeated. "Fasten your seatbelts." And then it hit us. Not a jolt, not a bump, but a turn, a definite, decisive turn to the left. It was slow and controlled. It lasted about 20 seconds, and by the time I realized what was happening, we were already on a new heading. What are we doing? I shouted. We're turning. We're losing altitude. We're descending. Why, he didn't answer. He just kept his eyes on the controls. Turn off the fasten seatbelt light, I yelled, but instead of obeying, he banked the plane further to the left. Brace for impact, he said, and as I reached for the lever, I felt a mixture of fear and confusion wash over me. What are you doing, Zahari? I asked. Why are you doing this? But as he pushed the throttles forward, I knew the question wouldn't get an answer. I didn't know it then, but those were the last words I would ever say to him. The last thing I remember is the water. I don't know if I passed out or if someone knocked me out, but when I opened my eyes, I was underwater. I remember struggling to swim toward the surface, and then I remember screaming, but it wasn't my voice that I heard. It was someone else's, and then I blacked out again. When I woke up the second time, I was sitting in a field. I remember shivering uncontrollably. I couldn't move my arms. I couldn't feel my legs. I looked down and that's when I saw the blood. I looked back up, but there was no one there. So I stood up and started walking. And when I looked back, I saw the planet was on its side. Flames were shooting out of the wings. Black smoke was billowing out of the fuselage. And as I stumbled toward the wreckage, I could see the bodies strewn across the ground. And then I saw Farik. He was kneeling next to a body. It was Zahari. His head was resting on Farika's lap. His eyes were closed. His face was pale. And when Farik looked up, I saw the tears streaming down his face. He's dead, he whispered. We're all dead. And as I walked over and knelt beside them, I felt a deep sense of sadness wash over me. I didn't know it then, but those were the last words I would ever hear him say. Now, all these years later, I still hear the knock sometimes. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and hear the clap. And sometimes when I look up in the sky, I see the flicker. And every time I remember the fear, the confusion, the sadness. And I wonder, what if? What if there was more to the story? What if there was something that we didn't know? Something that they didn't tell us? Something that will change everything? Because the truth is, we still don't know what happened on that flight. We still don't know why the plane went off course. We still don't know why it disappeared. From the sky, all we know is that 239 people vanished into thin air, leaving behind only a trail of unanswered questions and a whole lot of what-ifs. But you know what? Maybe that's where the real story lies, in the what-ifs. Maybe that's where we need to start looking. Because maybe, just maybe, the truth is out there somewhere, waiting to be found. And maybe, just maybe, it's not too late to piece it together. If you liked this video, please subscribe to our channel to see more astonishing videos. Thank you for watching.